Good evening, mates. This side, Rahul Magan here as a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting, and also a venture capitalist. I am a strong believer of the fact that designation is not a guarantee of knowledge. From US central bank bankers till many great personalities in India, this line holds true. And even though I am 36, if anyone comes to me and say that he is the CEO of this bank or he is the chief economist of this bank, I always disregard that and I always say that if designation is a guarantee of everything, then Greenspan, who was head of central banker of longest serving central banker for US, he never let a huge financial crisis happen. Designation is not a surety of knowledge. It is rare that few people who come on designation they make things wonder. Just like Blankfin, who came as a head of Goldman Sachs, and Goldman Sachs was like zooming up and up and up. It is like Steve, who came as once he came back in Apple, and Apple was like zooming up and up. It really happens that when a right mindset with right technical skill personality come at a high job. Elsewise, history is a witness that many big companies, don't want it to name, once they were considered as giants, they are either no longer exist or they are almost on the verge of bankruptcy. That is also a fact. And one of the person to whom I always challenged, but unfortunately he never accepted my challenge, is my loving friend Raghuram Rajan. So I will give you two stories about Raghuram Rajan. The first story that happened somewhere, I think in 2015, which is 5 years ago. Today I am 36 and I think I was 31 by then. So I was invited by Standard Chartered Bank in one of the conferences in New Delhi and I visited there. And because I was working at that point of time in India, I visited there and whenever I join bank conference, I always love to ask a lot of questions because I feel that it is the question that makes the world completely different, a unique and innovative world. Generally, in a treasury world, there are three kind of people, those who join conferences. The first kind of people, those who are predominantly leading the show, they join conferences for food. Because treasury conferencing happens in 7-star hotel and people love food and drinks. Second, they disregard whatever is being taught there. Second kind of people, those who join for, the reason. And third is for knowledge. 0.01% people join conferences for knowledge. They collect research reports. I still remember whenever I used to join conference, I used to collect, I always collect a lot of research reports, come back, store in my office and read one by one. You know that I am still a continuous reader of at least 2 to 3 business newspaper in a day, irrespective of my busy schedule, then shooting videos. In this Standard Chartered Bank conference, the Standard Chartered person was about praising Raghuram Rajan. And Raghuram Rajan, by the way, was the head of RBI at that point of time. I took the mic and simply asked, why are we praising too much Raghuram Rajan when he is a theory person? And I still remember that it was around 11 a.m. in the morning and the hall was, I think, 500 plus people. Of course, Standard Chartered Bank conference, 500 plus people. And everyone was pin drop silence. Because 31-year-old guy who was in t-shirt, I generally shoot in t-shirts also, I love t-shirts, who was in t-shirt, he took the mic and simply said, why are we praising Raghuram Rajan when he's a theory person? So of course silence was something which was given. Standard Chartered Bank lady ignored this question and said that some people do not like Raghuram Rajan. I said that I challenge Raghuram Rajan and your economist if you feel so. Once again, Somebody came from the back, put the hand on my shoulder, and said, "Can you please come out?" I came out, and you don't trust, 7 or 8 Standard Chartered Bank relationship managers were like surrounding me and said, "भाई तू चुप हो जा, we understand your knowledge, यहाँ पे conference होने दे, in English you please keep quiet, we understand your knowledge, please we request you," and all. Nothing had happened. I stayed there for another 10 minutes. They not answered my question. I quitted the conference. And that is what I always do. I never joined the conference for food, drinks, and all because I never drink. If people answer my question, okay. If they don't, I quit. Simple, straight. 1 month ago, one of my good friends sent me a LinkedIn snapshot. And it was mentioning that Rajan visited my LinkedIn profile. It is very difficult to tell whether it was, very difficult to digest. In fact, they were praising me that you reached that level when central banker is visiting my profile. And I also disregarded that because I feel that Rajan is, I have no respect for those people, those who somehow turned out to be a central banker. And today, what forces me is that Raghuram Rajan, along with his ex Vimal Acharya, wrote a paper which is Indian Banks: A Time to Reform, in which they give some conditions to the government. You should do this. Like one of the conditions that the government should dilute the stake below 50% in the bank, privatize the bank, and so on and so forth, and everything. I just wanted to ask from Raghuram Rajan what 10 good things he did when he was the central banker of India, which includes currency market, which includes repo market, reverse repo market, mortgage market, securitization market, and all. I really fail to understand why it happens that whenever a person quit as a central banker, he continued to give the lectures when he was on the roll, he delivered nothing. I still remember when POS swap was open, principal only swap. I am sure that 99% of the people even do not know what POS swaps are, which was created by Raghuram Rajan. This swap could have created in a better way. In fact, I have raised this point several times to in the public domain that RBI should come and pledge the FX reserves to create POS swaps. Pledging of FX reserve, creation of POS swap is a very technical topic I cannot cover. So my dear friend Raghuram Rajan, I once again reiterate to you, this time a 36-year-old person is challenging you. If you really think that you were a central banker and you really understand anything about banking, let's have one-to-one, sir. And it's a complete respect. Let's have one-to-one. And of course it's a COVID, so I cannot come to US, you cannot come to me. So let's have an online session watched by millions. Okay. But there is a little tweak, and the tweak is that the session would happen using live Bloomberg and Reuters. Treasury Consulting owns license of both, so I use Bloomberg and Reuters. And I will ask only 10 questions about banking using Bloomberg and Reuters. And you ask 10 questions from me. You can choose your theory questions also. I give you complete chance, but I will ask only practical questions from Bloomberg and Reuters. Okay, let's see if you accept this challenge or not. Raghuram Rajan sir, I wanted to tell you one thing, that life is definitely not theory. Life is practical. Life is all about swap creation. Life is about Bermudian option. Life is about mark to market valuation. Life is about mark to model valuation. Life is about OIS curves. Life is about why can't a central banker merge OIS with the BMK curve? Why do we need both? Why can't we have a single curve, which is also known as unified curve? Life is about par swaps. Life is not all about merging banks. Life is not all about selling banks and all. We need to understand that the world needs good products. Example, I hope you agree with my point that somebody must have created forward contract, option contract, swap contract, POS, COS, and all these. That is the reason our young generation is able to use that And why this? Somebody must have thought to create Bloomberg and Reuters. And that is the reason the whole financial world, anything about from Amazon to Reliance, any company is covered in Bloomberg and Reuters. Any financial parameters is covered in Bloomberg and Reuters. Just assume that both Bloomberg and Reuters not thought about that, the world would still be doing pigeon pigeon. One someone sending pigeon and someone receiving pigeon. Or maybe somebody doing TT transfer. So we need to understand that in banking, the most important thing that should be covered is the creation of the derivative markets. And I think that is one of the reason why United States is still the leading economies of the globe. I understand that due to COVID and many things, United States is losing the competence, and unfortunately US dollar is in a deep stress. I agree to that point. But even after that, United States financial market depth is unmatchable even by Singapore. The kind of instruments they offer, which includes commodities, equities, gases, structured derivative, and my favorite CDS, is something which is beyond assumption. And I hope, Rajan sir, you been through the books being written by JP Morgan, Bank of America, and then Lehman Brothers regarding their books on credit derivative instruments. I think that life is pretty big. I once again giving you an invitation to have a one-to-one talk with me on banking, which would be covered using Bloomberg and Reuters. I hope, being a 36-year-old guy, you will treat me as your friend and you will accept this invitation, sir. Because I really love to see that as an ex-central banker, what is your opinion about different curves on Bloomberg and Reuters, which I really never found you talking about. I really always found you talking about something which is quite apparent. And I hope you will come. You can revisit my LinkedIn profile. By the way, Treasury Consulting always spoke about the curves, the MTM. On our YouTube channel, there are hell lot of topics which we covered, which no one even dared to cover, and there are hell lot of topics which are currently in line. I hope you will take this invitation and one day we can surely chat. But one thing I assure you, the day I come to US, because Treasury Consulting is really looking forward to have an entity in US, I really love to speak with you, sir. I really love to speak with you about this topic, and Bloomberg Anywhere is a product which can be taken even to anywhere. And we will seriously sit and have your opinion about these curves, which I always missed in your statement. Like, you can clearly see that in this whole paragraph. I'm really confused where exactly is your opinion about the hardcore banking architecture. That is. By the way, before I close, I would like to give you something. The world is facing negative interest rate policy. Many economies of the globe are facing negative interest rate policy. Thankfully, many Asian economies are not part of that as yet. Do you know, guys, there are people who are easily privileged enough to speak on these theoretical issues. Do you know, guys, what they are up to? They are creating a framework which is known as alternate risk management framework. And guys, do you know what is this framework? This framework is about if a commodity or a currency forward premiums touch negative. On our LinkedIn profile, I shared a graph from Reuters whereby New Zealand dollar curve was like thrashed, forward curve. The world is as of now having two people, one who talk about apparent things and one who is using their brains in terms of creating an alternate risk management framework which would help people how to hedge commodity, currency, maybe other asset classes once it turns negative. I always support second, and because I am a part of second. That is. But I'm sure this video will offend many, and especially those who have a mindset that if somebody is sitting at any designation, he deserves it. And the end result is 2008 financial crisis is still not fixed, even after 12 years. I hope Rajan sir will accept this request. This is Rahul Magan from Treasury Consulting. You know our WhatsApp 9818485155. To conclude the video, Treasury Consulting Group always believe that life is all about practicality. The one thing that differentiates life is product versus the service. The person who is at my back was a staunch supporter of product. iPhone, iMac Air, iPod, and whatnot. I am also. Because I strongly believe that product creates service, not the vice versa. Thousands and thousands of the services company came, vanished, even no one knows. But the good product companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, they are still intact and gaining. Amazon, gaining. The question is simple. The young guns needs to decide one thing quite clearly in their mind. Are they product oriented person or they are service oriented person? That is. I am product oriented person, and Treasury Consulting would continue to be product oriented person. This is Rahul Magan from Treasury Consulting. You know our WhatsApp 9818485155. Let's see whether I will get any reply or not. I'll let you know. Have a great time.